We know that Daniel and the Hebrew children faced consequences like the fiery furnace or the lion's den. Can you draw some equivalencies in our modern times? And also, what does it look like in our day and culture for a Christian to have the courage like Daniel and to live out his or her true Christian identity?
Yeah, well, young people are going to have to really stand up because there's such a confusion. As we've been talking about, Babylon means confusion. That's where the languages were confused. So there's a confusion in our whole system of America for those who've gotten away from the Bible. You know, when we believe the Bible, there's a simplicity, there's a beauty, there's a rest, there's a peace, there's a joy. But you get outside of that and you have a confusion and you have a kingdom of chaos. So, for instance, I have a friend who claims to be a Christian, not sure they are. They sent me, and they're strong abortionists. They very strong position on abortion, this individual has. They sent me a link with 5 points. Actually, it wasn't a link. It was just actually a text. Sent me a text with 10 different points on why abortion is even biblical. There were Bible verses attached to each point. I'm like, where did you get this from? And I asked my friend a number of times, where did you get this from? Because I knew they didn't get it from their own study of the Bible. So I actually I put one of the points into a web browser, and came up the website where they got this from. It was called, the website was Freedom From Religion Foundation. And I read the rest of this article that was advocating abortion with totally fallacious reasons, but they called God in that article the greatest mass murderer in human history because of the flood of Noah, the extermination of the Canaanites, and things like that. And I was so saddened that my friend, who claims to be a Christian, is standing with God-hating blasphemers. So this is an example of like how so-called Christians could get wrapped up in the confusion of the world. I'll give one other example, and it's related to the gender. And we've all heard, all these different genders being espoused and thrown about, and they say there's, I guess, over 60. Maybe there's even more. It's so confusing. But I read this last week, and it really just blew me away. When they talked about cisgender, now we would all be cisgender according to the new gender terminology. Cisgender is someone who believes their gender identity matches the one they were assigned at birth. So, if you were born a male, you live in as a male, you're cisgender. We're all cisgender. Anyway, it said this in what I read. It says, some scientists believe that cisgenderism is a result of a fault in the brain of cisgender people, that we have a fault in our brain because we're living out the gender identity that we were given at birth. And then they said, and I'm quoting from what I read, it says, no one is sure what causes cisgenderism. And then it says, as a child, that no one is sure what causes it, and there's no known cure, as if we're the ones who are sick. So can you imagine being a child entering the school system today and being taught there's 60 genders, and a 10-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid has to pick one of those gender? That is absolutely disaster, confusion, sad. We've got to take a stand on the simplicity of God's word.